Welcome to the Waxing Podcast. I'm Kirsten Getzelman, esthetician, educator, and your host. Each week, we'll dive into real conversations, industry tips, and the kind of advice every beauty pro should have in their back pocket. This show is sponsored by Enso, a woman and esthetician founded brand bringing better options to everyday beauty pros. Let's dive in. Hello. Happy any day you're listening to this. I was literally going to drop a happy Monday because that's whenever I record these. But now that I'm thinking out loud, you guys don't get these until Tuesday. Although, if you're a late bloomer in terms of watching my episodes, then happy any day that you're coming and hanging out with me on the Waxing Podcast. My name is Kirsten. I am Tampa Waxer, Enso Wax, and the Waxing Podcast on all social media platforms. And I'm so happy you're here. I kind of do this ever so often, but if this is your first time, I am so excited to have you. I have loads of episodes that you can seriously go binge stream, learn so much through me, through other beauty pros that I invite on this channel. And if you are a regular, how are you? You already know the deal. I'm so thankful to have everybody that's here. And I am just I'm feeling happy right now because the weather, I woke up and it's 63. It was 63. It's already probably up to 78. So the facade of the outfit right now that you're seeing is not to be confused with the weather outside. But it actually is really nice here. So anybody that listens in Florida, like you already know, October is such a tease because we do get these like mornings that do sometimes equal fall. But then when it's noon, everything goes to shit. And it ends up being so hot. And we truly don't pop into like a true winter until sometimes December. Like I remember, I want to say a couple of years ago, or maybe last year, I don't know, time after COVID is like, just long like a whole year to me has been 5 years. But I remember one of the years during Christmas, people were at the beach and I hate that. And I love Florida because we truly get bragging rights from January to like I would almost say May, when people are just like ready to be back in shorts. We're still, I guess we never have a true winter. So, like, when people are sick of winter, we never truly had it. And when people are like in the thick of it, they understand very quickly how much work living somewhere in the winter is. And I say that because I'm from Illinois. So, I'm not born and raised in Florida. I am from the Midwest. I'm from a small town in Illinois. I'm 3 hours south of Chicago. And fun fact, that is where the Enso warehouse is housed, which is really cool. So obviously, I go up there quite a few times a year to be at the warehouse, but obviously to see my family as well. So it's like a killing two birds with one stone, if you will. But I grew up in the winter. And let me tell you, the only thing that makes living up north worth it for me is the fact that you get fall and you get to be in like this really cute fall, like sweater weather. Like, bikini season is out the door. You get to wear whatever you want, although obviously you can wear whatever you want anyway. But I just love the idea of putting on something really cozy and warm and big and oversized. That's when I feel my best. I feel my best in an oversized outfit. I want oversized jeans, oversized hoodie. I love just like drowning in my clothes, which shout out to all of you Gen Zs for making that happen because us millennials only knew what it was like to wear tight fitting low rise jeans and having to pair that with a tight fitting top. And so you guys have given us the ability to just like go out in our pajamas and make it look chic. Like I know what's stylish right now is like silk is very in. So people are doing like silk pajama looking shorts, pairing it with like a really cute sweater top, maybe some like booty heels or like even I've seen people wear like the pointed toe heels and then dressing it up with jewelry and all that stuff. It's like so fun because you get like that feminine, but like that masculine look, especially if you wear like a big leather jacket on it. And I'm loving the fashion. There's typically like what I try to look for. Not that I'm some fashionista or follow a lot. Like I definitely stay in the route of like I like what I like, and if it's hitting like a fashion mark, then that's a bonus. But I like following on TikTok. There's a couple of pages specifically in New York. One of the girls, she and I don't follow her. She just algorithm comes up. And so like I need to just follow her. But isn't that weird on TikTok, guys? Like, do you guys follow who you see on TikTok if you enjoy them? Like I follow friends and I follow people in my industry and like I follow people in that way, but like typically I never like I kind of like my algorithm to be random and sporadic and like I want to kind of meet new people on the platform. Like I don't ever follow that many people, but like it's so different from Instagram because like Instagram you're like I don't want to lose this person's content and you hit follow, but TikTok's like different. Like I feel like if you sit there and you and like enjoy and consume somebody's content, like they're inevitably going to come back up. And then you also get other people like them. It's kind of, like I get it. It's the algorithm, but saying it out loud seems so obvious. But yeah, I follow this girl. She's in New York and she does episodes. Oh my God, I'm in podcast land. She does TikToks where she basically just walks around the city and she's like, here's what I'm seeing. Here's what's trending. Here's what a lot of people are wearing. Here's, whatever. And it's so cool because I always say things hit New York before they hit anywhere or things hit California or like over the pond, right? Like a lot of what we do in our industry always comes from Europe first. And I think that's so cool. So I always make sure to follow people in Europe. Specifically, I like to follow people in the UK because it seems like they're always like a one step ahead of us. They were the first ones that I saw do lamination in like the lightning strike way, where it literally looked like you got lightninged or hit by lightning. And then that was like when lamination got introduced to the States. And then I saw the bleach brow where people were doing that. Like I've been seeing all of the trends and they always start there. I feel like they make their way to California and I feel like sometimes New York because those clients are kind of like the what's new of the new world where they want to try like all the things. And so they're almost like the dummies of the state. And I mean like dummies, like you try things on them, not like they're dumb, obviously. And then it starts to penetrate its way through like the rest of us, right? Like I always say, Florida people, they like to think that they're hip, but they definitely don't start trends until they're like set in stone. Like lamination for me came later than it did for people in the West Coast. And anyway, that was so fun for me. So what the hell? What the hell were we just talking about? I'm just playing catch up with you guys. Oh, I wanted to give you an update on the building. So, as you guys knew, the building that I'm in, if you've been listening, has been in full repair mode for a while. And they did just finish the roof. So, clap your hands for that because that's amazing. And then now they're about to start on the renovation, starting the third, second floor, which I'm on the second. So we'll keep you updated. I think to myself, I pre-record these pretty far in advance. I mean, not far, but like a month. So a lot can change in a month. And I'm like, next time I see you, or at least give you like a life update, it's not every week. It's like once a month, if not once every 1.5 months. So hopefully by the time I'm coming back on here to do my other round of podcast episodes, I can tell you that they have started because my God, we are getting desperate. Now, I do like the loft, and that's the thing to me, I always say like the loft and what I work in and where I'm at is like a toxic relationship. I know that we should hate it and I know that we should move. And for you guys that don't know, like a hurricane hit it and it got damaged and we've kind of just been like sitting here a while. We're waiting on the repairs. I don't know. There's like something about it that I love. Like right now, I'm sitting here doing the podcast. If you're watching it where you can see me, you can see the lighting is like amazing. Like we have three huge windows overlooking like this perfect light. The sun's going in. I don't know. I can't give it up. What else is new? I don't think I've talked to you guys since West Palm, Florida. We went there as a booth, which was really exciting for all of you guys that went and listened to the podcast. You guys came up to me and let me know that you listened to the podcast, which is so cool. I want to thank you so much for showing up. I know you were there for other brands. I know you were there for other people, but a part of me is just so excited to think that I was on your list for coming up and seeing the booth. And so thank you so much for doing that and like giving me the opportunity to do this. I'm like, to me, the podcast is like fun because, I feel like I'm FaceTiming somebody like you, right? Me and you are FaceTiming. I just don't get to have the response from you unless you DM me. And so going to the shows, it's just such one-on-one time for me, and yes, I'm exhausted, and yes, it's hard, but, like, having someone come up to me and be like, "I listen to the podcast, like, you helped me get through waxing, like, you made me excited about being in this part of the industry." It's just you'll never understand. Like, I leave those conversations and I leave the trade show and I go and I have, like, a glass of wine and I'm talking to whoever is next to me, whether it's my assistant or my friends that come to the show. And I'm just like talking about you the entire time because I just can't wrap my head around all of this, any of this. I mean, have been an esthetician for a really long time and I feel like I've done so much yet nothing at all. And I feel like that's like such the beauty of being in this industry. Not to mention when I got my license, I didn't even work for the first, I want to say 2 years. I know that I've set a true time frame, but as I keep getting older in the industry, I keep losing sense of time and I keep being like 3 years seems like 2, seems like 1. And I guess like what a lesson that is, right? It's like in hindsight, everything goes by so fast and you start to really lose track of like how long something took. It kind of reminds me of like growing your business or starting over or switching jobs. It's like you think in the moment that it's so long and then 10 years fly by and you look back and you can't even recall how long it took you to do something because it's just like irrelevant because hopefully you're where you are where you say where you wanted to be. So that's kind of how I feel about it. But I'm like, I didn't even work in the industry. I couldn't find a job that I liked. And I then felt like I took too much time off. And I was like, nobody's going to want to hire a esthetician dropout who got her license and decided bartending was just more suitable. And that's not true. And I'm proof that that's not true because it's like now looking back and knowing what I know now, I'm like, bosses and owners like love to hire people that have little to no experience because in a way you can mold them into doing things your way and you can mold a person into being a mentee and they're your mentor. So like I look back on it now and I'm like, man, I wanted all this experience, but like really like the more experience you have is either good or bad. It just depends on who and what you're getting hired for. But looking back, it's like, oh, it all seems so clear now. But anyway, so the booth was so fun. We only were there for 2 days, and I feel like that's probably what made it seem better than all the other ones because the other ones were there for 3 days, and we travel, we fly. I didn't have to fly to this one. I drove to West Palm because I live in Florida. Our booth was more simple. It was easier to set up. Like, all around, I just had such a good experience at West Palm. I went in thinking that we wouldn't love this show because this show was smaller and we thought like margin wise we would be I don't know, like disappointed, but to be honest, margins went out the door when I met all the people that I met in West Palm and it ended up being one of my favorite trade shows that we've done. I am in conversation for 2026. I'll keep you updated on that. I really hope that we can and will attend all the trade shows again. So it's IECSC, and that is in Vegas, well, New York first, Vegas second, West Palm third. It's like such a fun trifecta. It's just like the perfect amount of like hitting all the coasts. Obviously, not California, which would be nice to do, but as a brand who is so far from California, just not yet. We have been asked if we will be going to any California shows, but none that we have in the vision as of now. But it was so much fun. Okay. For today's episode, I wanted to do a Q&A. The Q&As have been so popular and so helpful because they're questions that everybody has at some point in their esthetician career and or beauty pro career, and I love giving my opinion on them because sometimes they're questions that you didn't know that you wanted to ask and then somebody else does it and you're like, "Oh, that is interesting. That actually happened to me." I was just at a summit in New York a few weeks ago, which was so fun and life changing for me and where I am in my business right now. I think IECSC is a perfect place for all beauty pros to go and learn and sit in the rooms of people who speak about the topics that you want. And for me, I obviously get so much inspiration when I'm at the IECSC shows, but I oftentimes now being a speaker and also being a booth don't have the opportunity to get the experience like everybody else. And so I really wanted to find an event where I could go to and be around people who were just above me in every single way. Like I went to it was called Female Founders World and it was hosted in New York. It was a one-day summit and I flew up and flew out in like 32 hours and the guests that were there were like high-end beauty brands that are so out of my league that it's not even funny. These brand people are making 100 million a year and they talked about it like it was $20. And I mean that in like an inspiring way, and it was just such a cool experience to see that. And when we were there, or I mean, when we, I'm so used to saying we as a brand, but I went. When I was there, there was a Q&A section, and like I didn't have anything prepared. I was kind of sitting in the back, but I had gotten so much value from what other people were asking, and they were asking questions that I was like, oh, yeah, like I was just in my notes the whole time, like putting things down. And I think to myself, I'm like, man, like what a cool event and how lucky I felt to do that. And I came back from that event feeling so motivated. And so whenever you guys tell me that you listen to the podcast and feel that same way, I get it. I get it. And it's like you just kind of need to surround yourself with like-minded individuals or people that want to see you succeed, um or people that are doing it themselves, right? Like I'm nowhere that I want to be right now just because I feel like I've started over so many times, so I've like found myself starting over at the bottom. But I say that and then I take it all back because I'm like, oh my god, look how far I've come. Like I like it's such like a flip-flop thing for me because I'm like, man, I feel like I have like I've never seen the next 10 years so clear, as in like, oh, I feel like I'm right at the beginning. But like then I'm like, no, I've done so many cool things that like I hope that I can inspire you to feel like you could do the same thing. I just think we all have different versions of like success and what's cool, right? So like I think what I've done is cool, but maybe you don't think that's cool. Maybe you owning a brick and mortar is cool. But I have people on that do that. So like that's why I like the podcast. I like the podcast because I feel like it's a place where you can go and get inspiration, if not from me, then from the guests that I bring on. Although lately I haven't been bringing that many guests on because I'm just loving the solo. I'm loving being able to just come into my loft and set up my little podcast space and just like go and just talk and kind of feel and feel out the episode and kind of switch up lanes, if you will, about like what I'm talking about. But I will be having some people on shortly. It's just like, I was a podcast beforehand where all I would do is guests. Like I would never speak about any of my own versions or opinions or anything because I always did guests and I loved it. But guests are so hard to navigate. Like logistically, it makes a podcast so much more difficult. So, shout out to the new podcasts. I see them working really hard and some of them are like skyrocketing. And I think that's so cool. I'm in a place right now where I just want to hang out with you and I just want to talk to you one on one. So I'm just in that season. Okay. So we're going to start out with some Q&A. Hopefully you get some value from this and hopefully this sparks you to message me and ask me for questions that I can do in the future. Okay, let's get into it. So, number 1 is how do you decide when it's time to raise your prices and what's the best way to tell your clients? I believe I've actually answered this one before, but I don't think there's enough moments that are always repurposing this exact question. I think this is a question that everybody has within the 12 months of a year, just differently in terms of time. So I think bringing this up every single, I mean, I don't even think bringing it up every episode is enough. Like, I think this is definitely the number one question. And so let's talk about it. So, number 1, how do you decide when it's time to raise your prices? I always say this one's easier than people realize. So it's either once a year, just like on a calendar, like every October, you raise your prices because that's like your yearly thing, right? So there's either going as easy as that or it's when you're booked, right? So like either you gauge it by just you do it yearly or you decide, okay, my books are a lot full or more full and I'm harder to get into and people are finding themselves on a wait list. So to me, that means it's time to raise your prices because you have the people there, you have the clients that are promise you coming for you, coming for also your services, but coming for you. They want to see you succeed. They want to see you raise your prices. And the more you can get doing this more frequently in terms of like once a year or once every other year, you won't have to do like a big bump on that. So when your books are full, it's time to raise your prices. How you raise your prices is completely up to you. You can either look at what everyone around you is doing and then just try to find a medium. Or if you feel like you do give more value than the people around you, then make sure to look at the other prices and go, okay, that person charges 30 for brows. I know that I do the cooling wand after every single brow wax. And I know that person's not doing that. So the value of my brows is greater. So I'm going to book them out for $35 or $38, or maybe I'm going to book them out for $40 because I make sure to fill in every single person's brows after their appointment, right? So, like asking yourself that. If your value makes sense, then raise your prices. I also think something that you can do when you are raising your prices is figure out a way to add value to your customer that doesn't cost you any money on the back end each and every single time. So maybe that's buying a new tool. Maybe that's like doing a red light therapy mask, or maybe that, I don't know, like whatever it is to you. Finding something that you can purchase maybe once or twice a year and then being able to put it on repeat. I always say that's like the best way to add value to your treatment room, unless, of course, the device is $1,200 and then you do the math and then you're like, well, it's way cheaper for me to buy like cooling eye patches and put it on their brows every time, right? Just doing the math and figuring out like what can you add that justifies your price to them, right? Because you don't need to justify why you're doing it for you. You're doing it for you because we're trying to make a living in this industry and we're not trying to go work at Starbucks as a second job. That's exactly why we're raising our prices. If we don't raise our prices, we're going to need a second job. We don't want a second job. We want this job and this job only. And we want to learn how to like scale ourselves back from working in this job every single day. So, and then what's the best way to tell your clients? A email, giving them 30 days notice. You can put it on social media, but I always say email is the best way to do this. When a person books with you, they have to give you either their phone number or their email. So utilize that personal contact to push the price increase, right? Like social media is such an algorithm based place that like sometimes when you do that, you might find yourself not reaching the masses of audience that you want to reach. They might not even see it. And then all of a sudden they see the price increase and have no idea. Another thing you can do is put like a little sign up if you have a reception area and just say like effective November 1st, price changes on these three services. Just making it to where your client is actually going to see stuff. When I was at the summit, I actually like one of my aha moments, which seems so obvious now, but in the time was not. But like the power of email. There was something that the speaker said. She said, what did she say? She said, email is not overrated, it's undefeated. And there was something that she talked about, which, like, stating when people are in your emails, they have chosen to accept that you will send them things, right? And yes, when people follow you on social media, same, but we're changing on social media. And not even that, but social media is borrowed. Social media is something we are renting. We do not own social media, but we own our email list. And so emails are definitely king when it comes to announcements, getting more people in your door in terms of like people, past customers that haven't shown up for 6 months, whatever it may be. Never, ever decide that email is last. You guys have no idea how powerful email is. And if I were you and I had a brick and mortar or a suite and I was trying to grow that side of my business, which by the way, whenever I give you guys advice, just know I'm like mostly doing this on the Enso side, not necessarily my clients anymore because I'm in a different place than that. But like if I had clients, I would email would be like home base for me. It would be all my announcements. I was just talking to my friend Mackenzie and I was like, you know, it'd be like a really good email idea as a like esthetician. So, I live in Tampa, so there's always really fun things happening in Tampa. I'm such like a hand person. If you guys watch me, I talk with my hands. If you guys like follow your city, there's always things going on. And I'm like, how cool would it be to like be the girl that like gives everybody the in the know? So like you could do an email once a week or once a month that's like everything that's going on in Tampa, like 3 places in Tampa you'll want to be this weekend. And you kind of become like the in the know place where the person's going to click the email because like they want to stay afloat of like what's going on in the city, whether they're, single and looking for like a wine night at Busch Gardens. I'm giving you guys examples here. Or they have kids and like they want to take them to like the daytime Oktoberfest, or, there's like a museum pop up or anything like that. And like being that source. But then where it goes back to you is like that's a reason to look cute. Right? Oktoberfest. Hello. I want to look cute. I met my man 8 years ago during this time. So it's like having just like being that person to like kind of make your emails more about just selling and like giving value. I thought that was really cool. So that was an idea that I struck up to think about doing. I don't know. Maybe you guys can take it. Okay, next question. I'm fully booked, but I don't feel profitable. How do I actually make more money? So, this is something that we're not taught in esthetician school. And I'm also not trained to like give you guys money advice, right? Like when I tell you guys something, it's only because of something either I've done, I've had my friends do that work for them, or it's like okay, like, let's just like take a look at this together. But nothing that I'm doing is like, this is how you become more profitable. When I say that, though, there are ways to alleviate some of your back end costs. So, really, I mean, if you're fully booked and you're not profitable, one thing is good. It's that you're fully booked. So, like, you have the ability to be more profitable, right? So let's say that you're fully booked, you're not profitable because your rent is too high. Well, chances are you priced your services out not to accommodate for all of your back end costs. So this is going to be a price change. Let's say you're fully booked, but like you find yourself like always ordering new stuff, new stuff, new stuff, trying new waxes, trying new this, trying new that. Well, like let's figure out what works for you and then figure out how much you use of all of this stuff, write it, put it in an Excel sheet, and like get really nitty gritty with your prices. Know exactly how much money you spend a month on wax and then how many services you do, and then whatever that means for you in terms of margins. Like make sure you know them, make sure you know everything you're ordering. I will give you guys this advice, I give it all the time. Quality will always win over quantity. Remember that. Keep it in your pocket and never forget it. There are products in this industry that are so cheap that you will end up using twice as much, even though in the moment you think you're spending less. Always say to yourself, quality, what's the term? Anything cheap, you'll buy twice, right? Anything quality, you'll be able to like utilize it to the best of your ability. So always make sure you're using quality stuff. That way you can take down some of your ordering in terms of like how many you do a month. And then another thing, this is another tip I have, getting rid of appointments that are costing you too much money. For instance, like if you hate leg waxes, like if they're the worst thing since sliced bread to you, but you like have a couple of clients, two on your books a month. Don't you just get rid of them? And then those 2 hours that it takes you to do leg waxes, you can now fit 8 more appointments in, right? So, like figuring out how to lessen your book that will help increase your margins because leg waxes are more margins simply because you use more product. So if you think about it like that, if you replace that with 8 Brazilians, yeah, you'll use 8 Brazilians worth of product, but it's less than the legs. And then they cost more on the back end. You have 8 people paying instead of two. And leg waxes, I mean, you can't make them $200, but 8 Brazilians end up being I don't know what, $500? So, like, really get smart about how you're doing this, and the good thing is when you're full, you could work backwards, and working backwards is the best, right? I mean, it's one thing when you're not making any money because you're not booked, but you are booked. So, like, figuring out your margins. One of the things that I started doing is in my Square booking system. I don't know if other booking systems have this, but I actually have set aside, I think I do 20% or 25% of every single service goes into a savings account through Square. So it never hits my account. I never see it. But at the end of the year, I'm going to use it for taxes. And hopefully, I have worked my magic to where I don't owe that much. And then I can either take it to buy a new machine, a new whatever, right? Like I need a new Glamcore light. So, like, maybe like to have the $400 to do that. Or I just simply take it, put it in my savings, put it in like a growth IRA, whatever they're called, like where you're growing your money instead of it just sitting in a bank account. Uh, that's also ways that you can do that so that you can make sure that you have money on like rainy days to where you're not profiting that month. Let's see. Okay, what's your advice for cutting services that don't make sense anymore? LOL, I just answered that. Get rid of them. Always work through what is going to long term be what you want to do. So, like, If you start out and you offer everything because you want to get as many clients through the door, I get it. But long term, you're gonna wanna start to push some of that back, and I'm telling you right now, it's so much harder to give somebody the bad news that you're not gonna do the service than not doing the service at all. So, like, get really clear on what you wanna do, who you wanna be. If you wanna give facials, if you wanna do waxing, then fine. Just figure out exactly what that means to you. Clients love consistency. They're kind of like little toddlers. Toddlers love consistency. So make sure you're giving your clients that consistency. Okay, how to set boundaries and with clients who constantly reschedule or show up late. So, you guys, this is obviously a topic that sometimes people have a hard time with because every single person is different, and that's okay. This topic is supposed to be a little personal to the person, and whatever you want to do with your business, I will say that I think one of the hard problems about our industry is like we do all have different opinions on this, and so, like, clients get used to person doing something and, like, another person not, and I wish I could tell you guys, like, we should just uniformly do every single thing the same, but it's just not possible, and it's not gonna ever happen. So, like, you have to follow what makes sense for you. If you have clients that continue to disrespect your schedule, it's time to have a conversation with them, right? Like, we can't have people on our books that do that. And than likely, those are not your favorite clients, anyways. Like, the clients that constantly do that, like, I don't like those clients. I mean, you probably don't either. Being okay with like firing a client. Secondly, giving people a break, right? So, like, also knowing that emergencies happen, also knowing that, some people don't like to come in on their periods. And just because you're fine with it doesn't mean they're fine with it. So, like, just like finding a balance and whatever you decide to do, stick with it, right? Stick with it. And that's how you manage, like, a good boundary book. That's how you manage, right? Like, I remember and I think a lot of this has to do with, like, how many employees you have, whether you're by yourself or you have a brick and mortar with 10 people, right? I feel like when you're by yourself, it's so much easier to be a little bit more accommodating because the only person that's hurting is you. The only bills that aren't getting paid is yours. And some people might say, no, that's the opposite for me. But what I will say is once you start involving other people into your business and your brand, you become so much more territorial over them that your boundaries end up getting harder. So if you do see yourself owning a brick and mortar where you are going to have employees, better you set the boundaries now so in 5 years, you don't have the person knocking on the receptionist being like, "Well, Kirsten used to tell me that, like, I could do this." Because it's like, well, this isn't about Kirsten anymore. This is a big business, and she cares way more about the homegirl in that room than she did about herself. So, like, if you see yourself growing in that way, think about that girl in that room who you hired. Don't think about you when you do those policies. Think about the long-term version of that. And then finally, okay, let's see. Should I discount services during slow seasons or does that hurt my brand long term? I don't think there's anything wrong with giving people specials and discounts and promos. When we think about this in a bigger world of like D2C, which is direct to consumer brands, we think like this is kind of how their businesses always pop. Any brand, right? No matter a cooking brand, a cleaning brand, a clothing brand, like they always get people on the bandwagon to purchase because of these offers. We call them, what do we call them? I teach it all the time. We call it fast, irresistible offers. So, like, intriguing offers that you don't normally schedule that gets people to move the needle and book. So I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think instead of waiting until you're slow and getting desperate, I think you should just clock all the times that you know you're going to be slow and then figure out a way to do those specials involved in that time. So, like, let's say you're always slow in October, maybe in August, you start prepping for that. So, like, you could say, fall deal, book for or September, I should say. So, like, September, you could say fall deal, book for, October's appointment, get blank. Or if your clients are coming in September, you could say, hey, if you pre-book, I'm giving you 10% off of your next service for October. So, like, you can always sprinkle in deals to the clients that are already coming I think that's always like a really good like client appreciation thing that you can do, but like always staying on top of it. And this is like knowing your numbers, right? Anytime you have a booking system, you can do this. You can go into your booking system and you can see the numbers that you've made in the past. So you could see what October looked like of 2024, 2023, 2022, and then compare them to each other and say, okay, if I'm always slow in October, how can I make it so that October is busier for me? So yes, you can absolutely do discounts in your treatment room. And quite literally, that's how the world goes around. This is why pricing and making sure that your margins are really healthy is ideal, because then whenever you do these little things, they're not anything to you. You're not like hungry that day and eating cereal that morning at breakfast, lunch, and dinner because you've discounted your services too much. You create your margin so that when you do discount, you're still really healthy. I think that's the biggest trick. And then I actually like this question. I'm going to do a two-part because we're getting far in, but like, what's something you changed in your business that instantly made your life easier? Stacy, my assistant. No, seriously. Okay. But if you don't have the ability to do that just yet, I think something that really changed in my business is just understanding that even though I felt like I had to be the face of and in somebody's face all the time in real time, I realized that I could set up automations instead. So, like emails and just like ads and branding and messaging, like I realized I could be there without actually being there. And I think that really helped a lot. Clearly, like we're one pony shows over here, most estheticians are, but like finding ways that you can set up any automation. So like if you have an email going out once a month, can you set out, or twice a month, three times a month, like how many can you do to where you can set it up so that it automatically goes out on Mondays at 12 o'clock, so that it's just on auto and you don't have to revisit it right away. Kind of like the podcast, right? I do 4 episodes at a time. Usually that's about all my brain can handle before it sizzles. But it's like those podcasts go out every single week. And so, like, for me, I can, not sit back, but like not do that, not worry about that. That's taken care of, that's done. And then I come back in 4 weeks and do it all over again. So, like, I don't have to sit here and think every single Monday I need to go in my room and talk about something different. I can set up a plan so that I'm there, right? I'm there. I'm in your ear right now, but I'm not there. I'm not doing it. So setting up my automation was really good. Now, if you can afford assistant, yes, do that. You can't have Stacy. She's mine. And anyway, okay. Wow, this episode went way longer than I thought. So I actually prepared to have so much more Q&A, but I'm going to save it for the next time. Let's do another Q&A part 2. This is going to be a lot more technical, but I think really good. And thanks for hanging out. Thanks for coming around. And I hope that, this episode, and I always say this towards the end of my episodes, I hope this episode inspired you, helped you, or lit a fire for you to feel motivated to do better in your treatment room, in your business, in your life. And thank you guys for showing up. I love you so much. And I will see you next time. Bye. Thank you for listening to the Waxing Podcast. If you found today's conversation helpful, be sure to follow the show and leave a review. It helps continue creating resources for beauty pros just like you. For updates and more, follow us on Instagram at the Waxing Podcast. I'll see you next week.